Welcome to Feed the Blender.
Alrighty. Welcome to Feed the Blender. Here with Zerch. No KZ this week. Little scheduling problem. We'll get him back on next week. As always, your host Schmeeb out here in the windy and rainy West. It's kind of a dreary day, but hopefully it'll be lighter inside my room as we record this. So, quick couple things we want to touch on. There's been a lot of shit going on since we last covered an Eastern Division. Let's just go with the obvious right out of the gate. Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think it makes it interesting, more interesting than it already was out in the Eastern Conference. I definitely think that gives them a push for like that 5 spot. I think more than anything, the biggest question mark with that acquisition is who are they gonna get for a 3 to help on the defensive side with like a 3-and-D wing sort of situation. So definitely think it's good. I think it's pretty wild that he ended up going there and the Knicks fumbled the bag on that. But it's really cool to see like a small market be able to like capture like a player like that. I think it's really good for the league. So
it's pretty rare. It's certainly pretty rare. And once the Knicks re-signed RJ Barrett, it kind of closed that door. They still had enough pieces to offer Utah, enough picks, enough pieces, young pieces that should have been, any team would have taken that amount that the Knicks were still able to give. But I don't know. Danny Ainge clearly had say that again.
Said Utah was asking for the moon, so
the Knicks were able to give him, but Danny Ainge went with the Cavs on this one, and we'll see how that pays out. Considering the Knicks future picks are probably worth a bit more than the Cavs are, but
agreed.
So as you touched on, they have a huge hole in that small forward position. They need perimeter defense because Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are both subpar defenders on the perimeter. They really need a small forward to come in and fill that gap. And honestly, if they're going to want to move up into, the top 4, top 3 contention, they need that small forward defender because you're not going to beat a team like Boston with Jason Tatum or a team like Milwaukee with Giannis or Middleton, Kevin Durant on Brooklyn. Like, there's so many tough small forwards in the East that it's a glaring hole that they didn't fill in the offseason, and they're expecting Isaac Okoro to step in, and he just hasn't proven that he's that guy. He's still early into his career, but he hasn't shown those glimpses that I guess Cleveland was hoping for, and he certainly isn't a great shooter. So I don't know. That is something that they should still be worried about. But great pickup. I mean, it's Donovan Mitchell. When you have a chance to get a guy like that, you take it every time.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. They have that huge hole to fill. Obviously, they don't have, as we've discussed, they don't have that specific person to guard the 3 spot. But also on top of that, as you alluded to, Garland and Donovan Mitchell aren't great defenders as well. So it's just like you're then putting a lot of stress on Jared Allen and Evan Mobley to hold down your defensive spots. So
right. And I didn't even mention Jimmy Butler nor Scotty Barnes. So
well, I mean, and a team like that is going to get cooked by like the Warriors, for example, who are insanely good at spacing the floor and stuff like that. So I mean, even Boston's really good at spacing the floor too. So, I mean, they're just going to get picked apart going up against those top 4-tiered teams in either conference. So
on top of not having that small forward position filled, they also still don't have a ton of perimeter shooting. So
this Carousel, I don't think is big enough to play the 3.
No, and he's not a good defender. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having him in the lineup at that 3 position. If you're going to change his position, he's already not a good defender. You're just asking for a mismatch every single time down the floor.
Yeah,
So,
and I just feel like, especially with this, like our current day and age of the NBA, like they use and abuse mismatches a lot, especially postseason.
I mean, think about James Harden on Philly. How many ISOs do you think he's going to run for both Mitchell and Garland if they match up?
Right. Yeah. Look what happened to Duncan Robinson. Like
he got that every time.
Right.
Yeah.
He got benched because he couldn't hold his own defensively. So
Tatum, Brown, KD, they're all going to do that. They're all going to just ISO.
Yep.
Speaking of KD and Kyrie opt to go back to Brooklyn. The saga is done for now. We now have a full roster. I still don't think they're amazing. I think they're a playing team. We don't know if TJ Warren
that they had from last year. Same team that they had from last year without Bruce Brown.
It's significantly different. I mean, they have, they lost Brown to Denver. Ben Simmons is going to come in and replace what Harden's role was. I mean, I don't know. They pick up TJ Warren in the offseason. We don't know if he's going to play.
Bubble TJ Warren?
Yeah, bubble TJ Warren. We'll see if that ever happens again. He's a good player. He's a great he was a good player.
He's an all right player. He showed out in the bubble. That's his claim to fame. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Brooklyn's going to be – I honestly think like they'll finish exactly where they did last year.
I 100% agree.
If not, maybe even worse. I don't really like all of the rumors that they're going to play Ben Simmons at the 5 just because once you start playing actual – like, okay, you play him at the 5. They have no match for Philly. They have no match for Cleveland. Like, you can't – you can't play him there. Like I understand it. Like I understand the temptation behind it, given his size, and they'll be able to run the floor extremely well. But
and he's a great defender.
I don't. And yeah, you're a great defender at 6'9", going up against guys that are within your
shutting down Joel Embiid, plain and simple. And they don't have guys to shut down any of the bigs in the East. Claxton's the only other big that they have.
Right. Exactly. And that's literally it. That's it. Yeah. What is he? 11?
Yeah. So, like I said, they're still a playing team in my eyes. They just jumped from maybe winning in the high teens to the low 20s to now they're going to win mid 30s to high 30s, in my opinion. So,
yeah, that's all I have to say about them.
And there will be more throughout the season, I'm sure, but we'll wait until that all unfolds. And then some disheartening news in the NBA after the year-long investigation on Robert Sarver. He has been fined $10 million and suspended 1 year. It's looking like he's going to sell the franchise. The NBA, a lot of people didn't like the 1 year suspension, but, thankfully he's given up the franchise and hopefully moving on for good in the NBA. I mean, it's the stuff that's come out in the report. It's, you can't have that. It's not okay. It's not good behavior in a corporate setting nor in NBA franchise. And he deserves to be outside of the NBA and no longer an owner. So,
just not a good look.
Not a good look. Hopefully it's going to be a swift transition into whoever takes over his position, and that'll hopefully be the last time we hear of him. On to some lighter stuff. Dennis Schroeder to the Lakers.
Yep, they really won that one, considering they tried to pay him like $70 million 2 years ago, and now they just signed him for less than 3. So,
and you can make the silver lining. It's kind of what they needed. They needed another guy to handle the ball. Hopefully he doesn't shoot as poorly as he did this summer overseas, but yeah, I mean, it's the Lakers, whatever.
It's a big question mark. So I don't know. I don't think they're done I think they're going to still try and like pull some more strings, probably with Utah by the end of the year or by like the end of the summer. That's for sure.
I mean, you could see definitely a deal for Mike Conley and Bogdanovich to come over, but
yeah, the only problem with like the Mike Conley move then too is like now you're suddenly flushed with guards.
Flush with guards and dead cash. But you assume that Russell Westbrook goes over in the trade.
In the first place, so. But yeah, agreed.
Say that again.
I said I don't think Conley should have ever gotten that contract that he did in Utah, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, first couple seasons in Utah, he was great, and he was coming off of, I believe they went to the Western Conference Finals with Memphis. It was like the Paul Gasol, Tony Allen, Mike Conley team, Zach Rudolph, Rudy Gay, and they had a squad, and Mike Conley was a huge piece on that team. So, I mean, at the time, he was deserving of a contract that big. It's just, hindsight's 2020. The downfall hasn't been great. He was getting blown by on defense almost every possession in the run they had in the playoffs. So,
which is tough because I feel like he was known for being a good on-ball defender.
Right.
So I don't know what, like he like lost that first step and he just hasn't been the same since then. And I think he's been pretty like beaten up since then too. But.
Yeah. And then we get to the unfortunate news of two major injuries to two Eastern Conference teams. Update on Lonzo Ball. It's not good.
It's not 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. Do we have the official report here somewhere? I think I got it.
Yeah,
I think I just sent it to you on.
Yeah, I don't know how to say the word, but arthroscopic surgery on his left knee that's been being worked on since last winter, basically, or early spring.
Mm-hmm.
So not ideal. I've heard rumors all summer that he wasn't going to be ready for training camp, and then he was maybe going to be ready for the start of the season. This obviously pushes it back a lot. And so, from what I've seen, they're going to give Io the start at point guard, which I don't hate. He held his own for the most part last year. From what I've heard and read, is he has taken at least a little bit of a step forward from a jump shot perspective, and he wasn't a bad on-ball defender by any means last year.
No, you just hope he assumes some of the facilitating role that Lonzo provided.
Yeah, and I mean he got a lot of good looks last year. I mean he played and started a ton of games for us last year, so I think he at least got those like rookie jitters like out of his system with like the amount of PT that he got last year. So I think he'll at least be able to like move into a starting role for the interim and be a little bit more confident in it. From what I've seen, they Bulls media really wants him to like be more aggressive and take more shots. So don't hate the idea, as long as he can learn how to go left is the biggest kicker on that.
Yeah.
So
how does this change how does this change your perspective on the Bulls outcome of the season? Do you think they're going to be significantly worse without Lonzo? Do you think this is going to really hurt them, or do you think?
Well, I think it's definitely going to hurt us at the beginning of the year. I mean, the problem is like the Eastern Conference right now is stacked with 10 teams. 10 teams that are in that discussion to make the playoffs.
There's going to be at least 9 teams that are over 500. Which is
as Zach Lowe and Wendy have been saying all summer, there are 4 good teams in the East that are going to miss the playoffs.
Yep.
So I was hoping that the Bulls with Lonzo being healthy day one would be like right around a 6 seed and avoid the play-in tournament. But depending on how much time that he misses, I don't envision them not being a play-in team. So then at that point, it's all matchup related. So.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think they're now bordering not making it at all. So I think this really hurts.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. It'll be interesting. I mean, we'll get to it later. I don't believe that like Miami's going to be as good as they were last year. given that they have like an aging roster with Butler and Lowry.
Yeah.
And they asked a lot out of the role players to step up next year. And this year will be interesting to see if they can maintain that same trajectory. So,
yeah.
But here, we'll talk about Robert Williams' injury really quick before we get into the Southeast here.
Yep. According to Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, Robert Williams III will undergo an arthroscopic procedure on his left knee this week, causing him to require 4 to 6 weeks for recovery.
I just don't understand why they waited so long. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've definitely like had a hard time comprehending with a lot of different injuries that we've seen as of late. It's just like we've had they went into the postseason last year and he was recovering from an ACL or an MCL injury.
It was a torn meniscus like 6 months ago. So,
Yes. And so they went into the postseason knowing that he was basically going to be questionable for every game, just depending on how his knee felt.
And it was a focal point every game in every series.
Right.
It felt like.
Right. And so, like, I don't understand why we're sitting here and it's September 21st and, like, we're just now getting surgery on it that's going to then push you back 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm sorry, but, like, you're a big man. Most guards probably have, yes, realistically a 4 to 6 week, like, recovery time on that, but you're a big dude. It's going to take you longer to recover and get back to full strength on an injury like that. So it's just, I don't know. I would be concerned if I'm Boston. Yes, you have the depth. Yes, you're still a really good team, but still, he was huge for them last year. Anybody that got near the paint, that shit was getting blocked.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he had a serious case to be D-boy last year for Boston. I mean, as much as Marcus Smart is that engine that makes the train go, Robert Williams is also that for that defense. They call him Time Lord because he makes up just ridiculous amounts of space in such a short amount of time on the court. I mean, his help defense is like integral. It's integral to that defense. And according to this article, the latest procedure is described as a cleanup and is expected to allow Williams to return to full strength early in the regular season. So,
to be the caveat, we heard that about Lonzo's knee injury
right
in March. So,
right. So,
I'd be taking it with a grain of salt. Is all I'm saying. So
everything should be taken with a grain of salt in the NBA. A lot of lies in this league. All righty. In terms of anything else happening in the league that you want to touch on, or can we just get right into this Southeast Division?
I say we just get right into it. I can kick her off here with Atlanta. So obviously,
Atlanta Hawks.
Obviously, out of all teams, I think they had the biggest offseason this year with the DeJounte Murray acquisition. So they didn't really give up a lot for him. They gave up Gallinari, who just tore an ACL, and a 2023 first-round pick and a first-round pick for 2025 and 2027 with a swap in 2026. So gave up basically 3 first-round picks for him and a player. That player is not going to play this year. So I think it's huge. It definitely makes them a very interesting backcourt in the East.
You can't forget the acquisition in this trade of Jacques Landale, the center from Australia.
This one many Biggie shout outs or what?
Oh, he's not even a Biggie shout out. He's a 14th man, but he's as important as any other piece in this trade. Atlanta said, we need this piece.
So are you saying that's more valuable than them signing Frank Kaminsky?
I'd say so. I'll say it. Frank the Tank can hear this. I'll beat him one-on-one.
Badger hater over here. But I mean, huge acquisition for Atlanta. I mean, he's got a manageable contract. He's not due for an extension or anything like that because he just got one with the Spurs. So
yeah,
I think they won in this trade, considering they didn't have to give up a ton for him. And I mean, you're adding a guy that put up 20, almost a triple double last year. So
completely awesome season he put together last year. 9 assists a game, 8 rebounds a game.
Yeah, 21 points. Yeah, I definitely think he needs
Trey?
to up. Yeah, I think he definitely needs to up his 3-point shot. He only shot 33% last year. Obviously, he took the majority of the scoring load. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see if that improves this year with, I would assume, then Trey still, putting up close to 30 a game.
And I'll assume he's getting a ton more open looks just based off of being around Trey. So
yeah, I agree. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I think that's going to be a pretty wicked 1-2 combo that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell are going to be shitting in their bridges when they have to match up. So
right.
That's going to be a long day at the office for those fellas. That's for sure. But just moving into I think who their top 6 are. Obviously, Trae Young at point guard. Don't need to say any more about that. He had a great season again last year.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. And then obviously there's Murray, who I'm assuming is going to be the starting 2.
For sure.
Bogdanovich, 15 points a game, 4 boards, 3 assists, 37 from 3. He's going to get a lot more open looks this year.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is float around the 3-point line and create space.
Well, they'll have him as a 6th man off the bench.
Yeah, that's probably fair. So who do you think is going to then replace him at the 3?
It'll be DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, and I could see that. Just because he's bigger.
Yeah.
He's a more stereotypical 3. So for Bogdan's
guard
2
positions 2 through 4. He's a big body. I believe he was a part. I could be wrong, but I believe he was a part of the national championship team with Virginia with Kyle Guy.
I can't confirm that. So
he's in his 4th year in the league. Injuries have kind of destroyed him. He played 53 games last year, averaged 13, 1, and 3 on 38% shooting from 3. I mean, they're going to want him to take more threes. They're going to want him to lock up probably the best wing offensive player on the opposing team. So he's probably going to fill that 3 role just because you put Bogdanovich in that starting lineup and there's just 0 perimeter defense. I mean,
they're gonna put up fucking
160 a game.
Yeah, 43s a game and spread the. Yeah, that's fair. I literally had a question mark next to him, and DeAndre Hunter was my 6th man. So obviously it's a pretty easy flop.
You ask and I answer.
Yeah, just given the size, and the play styles, and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
Obviously at the 4, and I mean he's been rumored all summer to leave, but it's a pretty wicked lineup with John Collins in there too.
It's nuts.
So, I think Showtime Hawks. You know what I mean? I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think there's going to be some nasty yams. There's going to be just dudes getting busted on the perimeter. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch.
They're
Again,
youthful, they're confident. They're not scared of anyone in the East. If they can stay healthy,
I don't want to play close.
Right. I'm just about to say that. If you see Atlanta in the first round of the playoffs, you should be terrified because Trey can fucking win you an entire series, and he's shown that.
And he's done it, and he's done it already. You know what I mean? He's proven that he can be the guy. I mean, he had a bad showing against Miami, but he was seeing double and triple teams every time, and didn't necessarily have the supporting cast to help him get out of that. But with adding in Murray and not dishing Collins, they're going to be scary, scary good to go up against.
And Clint Cabella's he's going to stay down low. He's a huge lob threat. He's going to grab a ton of rebounds. He's going to get blocks. This is a deep, deep team.
Yeah, I think the anchor of what needs to happen though is you need Capella to stay healthy.
Yeah,
because you lose him towards the end of the year, then their entire defense isn't going to be super good to begin with. But if you lose that piece, they're done. They don't have anything to really throw at a Joel Embiid or anything along those lines. So
I
think it'll be super fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this is a 2nd round type of team. everything goes right, everything goes their way. Trae Young goes absolutely bananas. Could be a conference finals. Who knows? You never know in the playoffs who gets injured. Anything can happen. So, and this team is built to win playoff games on top of regular season games. So I have them at right around 45, 48 in that range for wins this year. Potentially a top 6 team. I mean, like we said, the East is so competitive. So any one of these teams could win 47, 48 games and still not be in that top 6. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be awesome to watch. It's going to be a shootout for those top 6 spots.
It's going to be competitive all year. I cannot wait.
Yep.
I got 3 shout outs technically, 2 of which are Big East shout outs. I just got to give a shout out to an absolute legend, Maurice Harkless from St. John's, Big East legend. He's been in the league forever. He's the vet in the locker room. And then Malik Ellison also played his first 2 years at St. John's. Another little Big East shout out. And then we have a 3rd shout out in this to the one and the only Jalen Johnson, 6'9" power forward out of Duke, also out of Nicolet High School in Wisconsin.
Shout out.
Played in 22 games last year, had like 5.5 minutes per game in those 22. It wasn't great. But he's a 6'9", bouncy wing. He can do some pretty nice things on the defensive end and in transition. He can get up and down the court pretty well. I'm assuming they're going to have him take a role because he is a bigger wing that can guard bigger positions. So they drafted him as a lottery. I think he was like the 12th or 13th pick in his year. He's going into his 2nd year. So we'll see what they do with him. It's just a nice young talent that they have off the bench. I actually forgot there's a 4th shout out I have to do. Another Big East guy. And
4 less.
Atlanta's 2nd round pick this year, Tyrese Martin from UConn.
Shout out.
You remember Tyrese. Solid defender. I think he's like 6'5" or 6'6", big body. He played 4 years in college. So he's going to kind of be able to come in and just do his thing right away. He's a good system player, good defender. I'm assuming he'll be on a 2-way. We'll see. Injuries can always happen. You never know. So
yep. Shout out to the Big East.
Yeah, shout out to the Big East, best conference in all of college basketball.
On to Charlotte.
On to the Charlotte Problem Hornets. After finishing 43-39 last year, they bring in Steve Clifford after Kenny Atkinson walks in the building, takes one look around and says, I'm better suited as the assistant coach to Steve Kerr on the Golden State bench. What does that mean about what's going on in Charlotte?
Wonder how MJ feels about that.
MJ's got the earring in. He doesn't care. He's betting hundreds of thousands of dollars on the golf course. He couldn't care less. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on the Miles Bridges situation. We'll leave it at it's a shame. We don't condone domestic violence. He will never be in the league again. And it's a shame. He was a talent. I loved him in college at Michigan State. I loved him on Charlotte. I've lost a lot of money because I bet on Charlotte to be really good underneath him. And for how crazy I am,
he was just trending in the right direction. You know what I mean? Like he was
about to
making
get paid.
He was making small steps to be like a huge piece of like a franchise, and he just fumbled the bag.
He's about to get paid.
Yeah, dude. And he had a great year last year. Like literally, it's like it was the perfect timeline of like you snapped going into your free agent season, like was going to get either paid by Charlotte or was going to get paid by another team, and he just had to hit his girlfriend. So
can't
do that.
do that. no place for that kind of business in any profession.
Except for the NFL.
Yeah, no comment, Roger Goodell. So yeah, like I said, we don't have to get too far into the weeds. It's just a really unfortunate situation. It sucks for his family. It sucks for him. It sucks for the franchise. It's whatever. We'll move on. Hopefully he can figure it out. LaMelo Ball in his third year in the NBA, coming off of an insanely impressive sophomore season, got his team to the play-in. They lost.
In the play-in.
Yeah, but he showed good glimpses. I like where his future is going to be. It's just, where is the Charlotte future going to be? That's the huge question. There's rumors of Terry Rozier getting traded, Gordon Hayward potentially being in a new team. They're just kind of in shambles this year after looking really, really potentially good and competitive for the next, 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's insane, the 180 that they've taken in the last 3 months.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they're just a big question mark. I think they're trending in the wrong direction from where they were last season.
Yeah.
They lost Harrell. He was signed by Philly, which is a huge signing for them.
I like that for them.
Yep, like that for them. Gives Joel rest, which he'll need. But I really I don't know what to expect of this team. As you mentioned, like they were a play-in team last year. I don't envision that this year, considering it's okay. LaMelo, Terry Rozier, and Gordon Hayward. That's great, but it ain't gonna get you anywhere in a super competitive East this year. So, I think they're trending in the wrong direction. I would envision this will be LaMelo's last year on his rookie deal, or is next year the last year on his rookie deal?
I believe.
Because I don't envision he stays.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Why would he? They haven't done anything to build around him.
They'll pay him. That's why. I mean, he's going to get a huge contract if he stays. If winning
LaMelo to the Knicks,
I wouldn't mind that. I would not mind that. That would be.
Him.
The kid is proven already.
Mm-hmm.
20 points a game last year, 7.5 assists a game, 5 boards on 39% from 3 and 43% from the field. As a second year point guard, I mean, yes, he looks kind of stupid sometimes when he's out there. Sometimes he makes careless mistakes, but that's kind of who he is. That's who he always has been.
He tries like shit that like you wouldn't expect out of like a dude like that. I mean, the kid's been basically playing professional ball since he was 14. So,
I mean, it's the
it's like it's the I'm gonna try stuff because I'm creative and I don't know if it's gonna work or not.
Yeah,
but I've been.
I shouldn't say stupid. I guess I meant bored. Like he looks bored on the court, which is probably why he tries stuff.
Right. And that's because he's not really playing like competitively. Where you put him on a team that's like actually competing in the playoffs, like I guarantee he then like locks it in and puts together like a Trae Young-esque like playoff run where he just locks in, puts up 30 and 8 and just goes bananas. Like I think this year they're gonna be bad. I don't envision them like even like coming close to the play-in tournament. I think he's gonna average close to a triple-double this year. Like he's gonna do some wild shit and he's gonna then end up getting paid. So,
and I don't know about the triple-double aspect, but I 100% agree. They're probably gonna be a low 30s win team realistically in this tough East. I think they're worse than New York. I think they're probably just slightly better than Orlando, but they're in that region of teams where it's kind of just they're going to be competitive. They're going to be hard to beat on any given night, but they're not going to win a ton of games. LaMelo, much like Washington, LaMelo and Bradley Beal, they're going to win their team's games. They're that good. They're still going to be a hard win, especially if you're on the road going into their house. It's going to be a tough win no matter what. So, and Charlotte's lineup is still somewhat decent. At the point guard, we got LaMelo, shooting guard Rozier coming off a 20-point per game year last year. They still have Gordon Hayward. PJ Washington's a good young talent. Mason Plumlee's white ass. We don't we don't have to get into that one. I mean, there's not a lot of depth, but that first four is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
Unless they tank and they go for Victor.
Whoa. Could Michael Jordan have his team tank?
As you said, what the fuck does he care for? He's out betting $100,000 on the golf course.
And they got LaMelo for the second pick, so they've already done it. It's just, it's so hard to convince a franchise to tank after being in a play-in, potentially their best season probably since Gerald Wallace was on the Bobcats.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if they go to pitch Rozier and Hayward, and they just stick with LaMelo, like at that point, there's nothing really left to them to actually put up more than 20 wins.
And they could do the OKC where they get draft picks and just farm for talent. I mean, we could potentially see a 2 or 3 year tank from Charlotte right now where they just farm talent out and build up a squad for when LaMelo's like 24, just try it over again.
Right. Just there's no purpose to them building on what they have right now because they have high contracts between Rozier and Hayward. You don't have to pay LaMelo yet.
That's a ton of money between those two guys.
What purpose is there to try and be competitive for the next 2 years, given how strong the East is right now from the top down?
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
Like I said, after finishing 43-39 last year, I don't see him winning a ton of games.
No.
This team got significantly worse. And it's unfortunate because it wasn't their fault. A lot of times teams kind of self-implode. They try to make one step in a direction that doesn't work, bring in a guy that doesn't work. But in this case, this is just the basketball gods not allowing Charlotte to have nice things. So it's unfortunate, but before we move on to our next Southeastern Division team, I'd like to touch on 2 players on the Charlotte Hornets roster. First, James Bouknight from the University of UConn. I believe our 4th Big East shout out of the episode already. Dude's good. 6'5" combo guard. He was on a 2-way last year. He has a really solid chance to get a nice role in this rotation. So if he takes advantage of it, good. He can shoot, he can dish, he gets up. He's kind of like your template NBA guard, So his teammate back in the day is also on this team. Isaiah Whaley from UConn, played next to Adamo Sanogo, grabbed 7.5 boards next to Sanogo, which is it's a pretty tall task considering Sanogo rips down like 11 boards a game and college is only 40 minutes. So
that's like a big, burly dude.
Yeah, he's like the 6'8" center for UConn. Yeah, that just eats boards down low.
Yeah, he kind of gave the Hall of Beans last year.
Multiple times. So then that's 5 Big East shout outs and we're through 2 teams right now. This is ridiculous. And the next team I believe has 4.
Oh, nope, Jesus.
5. We're going to take a quick break. Let's grab some drinks and then we'll head on to Miami. Moving on to Miami, coming off of a second place finish in the East, playoff wise, first overall regular season. They were Jimmy Butler missed 3 in transition away from potentially beating Boston in that game 7. One of the more grueling and injury-ridden, tough-fought series that we've seen in quite some time. They don't get any younger, and they certainly don't get any better in the offseason. They get rid of PJ Tucker.
Yeah, certainly didn't try to get any better, that's for sure.
They lose Markieff Morris to Brooklyn. What was once a team that was in every trade discussion, every trade rumor with Kevin Durant, even on his short list of the 2 teams he desired to go to, that falls through. KD goes back to Brooklyn. Miami's kind of sitting here still in the aftermath, twiddling their thumbs like, our roster is no different than last year, with the exception of several guys leaving. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's a big question mark, that's for sure. I'm not gonna lie, I'm disappointed in what they did this offseason, considering it was next to nothing.
Yeah.
But they really didn't have a ton to like actually give up to make like a serious push for KD or Bradley Beal or anybody along those lines. Like they certainly didn't have the picks that were being asked for. And I'm sorry, unless you're trading Jimmy Butler or Bam, like you're not going to land like a player like that. And no. I think trading either of those 2 players was out of the question.
Yeah, and the logistics of Bam for Simmons or Bam for KD just didn't work with Ben Simmons' rookie max contract already being on Brooklyn. So when we discussed that on an earlier episode, I believe in the first episode, if you want to go back and listen to that, we break that down a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, they re-signed Victor Oladipo, which I liked him on Miami last year. I think he's a solid fit. I'd like to see what he does this year with a full year under his belt. Hopefully his role is better. And as you said, they just didn't have a ton of pieces that teams really wanted, including Tyler Hero, which they tried to shop around, coming off of his 6th man of the year performance last year. It just seems like teams weren't on the same page of the value of Tyler Hero that Miami, maybe had thought Tyler Hero was worth.
I think a lot of that is just due to like him having a really good bubble. Like as much as people want to like write off like the bubble season, like he played super well as a rookie while they were there. And then like obviously last year with winning 6th man of the year, he didn't have a bad year by any means. He'd come in, get it.
Yeah, he had the best year of any player off the bench. Play by a ton.
Yeah.
And I mean, he averaged 20 a game last year. He averaged 24 and 5 off the bench. Like that's not a fluke. And before we go any further, you touched on the bubble. Both Zerch and I are of those who you might call crazy, but we're of the belief that the bubble was to be taken seriously, is to be taken seriously, and was as challenging as any other year in the NBA, if not more challenging. I think there's no asterisks surrounding 2020. It's as legitimate of a season. Every single team played, every single player played that needed to be there, that was top in their conference respectively. And I don't get the argument that the bubble discounts any kind of performance. I understand maybe the TJ Warren bubble performance, but it's like he was already a good player. He was a solid player already.
Right.
So it's like, what are we arguing here? It's only to discredit LeBron. That's where this conversation starts from. That's where the whole argument stems from. It's because the Lakers won the finals, because LeBron won finals MVP in the bubble. everyone tries to discredit it, and it's not correct. It's just not.
No.
So sorry to go off on a little rant there. That's one of the things that just, it bothers me. It's just such a stupid take.
It's petty.
It's petty. It really is. Back to Miami though. Kyle Lowry in his first real healthy altogether season in Miami. Last year he had some off the court stuff he was going through, totally understandable. Really kind of came in, did his thing on defense, struggled to find his shot, struggled to find his scoring, but still a great veteran presence in the locker room. And look, this is a Eric Spoelstra coach team. So we can't sit here preseason and say if they're going to be good or not. They did a ton with a little last year, and they could probably do the same thing. Do I think they're going to be a first overall seed? No. But I'm not going to act like they're not going to go to the playoffs. I mean, this is Miami. This is Heat culture. They're going to win regular season games.
Yeah, I think they'll be one of the teams that's fighting to not be in the play-in. I think that's pretty much their ceiling.
Yeah,
maybe first round out if they get hot at the right time. Or like if like a first round win if they get hot at the right time. But I don't know. They didn't improve anywhere, which given how this offseason went and how strong the East is, that can't be the case.
Yeah.
So tough. I don't have a lot of expectations for them next year. I don't really know where they'll finish. It's dependent on so many factors. Is Jimmy gonna like continue going at the same pace that he currently is? Is Kyle Lowry gonna stay healthy? Bam had like I don't want to say a bad year last year.
Well, he
didn't take the next step that everybody.
He didn't take the next step offensively, no, but he was right there in the depoy run. Like, I mean,
and I know like that
defenders in the entire league. I mean,
yeah, and I know he like wants to win that, so like I assume like at some point he'll go balls to the wall and really push to like win that award. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about what they did or didn't do in this offseason. So
yeah, and it's safe to say that as they did last year, Strus, out of nowhere becoming a starter, filling in a huge role. Gabe Vincent making a huge role for himself in the rotation. They're gonna find guys to replace him. Somehow they always do, and I don't doubt him because Spoelstra is just that good of a developmental coach where you just kind of expect they're going to find 2-3 guys a year that were maybe, 12th man spots or 13th man spots in that rotation and, work their way up and carve out a good spot for themselves. Like they just seem to always find these talented guys that are really young, kind of out of nowhere. So you kind of figure that's going to happen.
They have to.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if they, I don't envision them like not making the playoffs, but if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think they'll go into 2023, 2024 with like a clean slate, and they'll empty out house and like figure out what direction they want to go.
Yeah.
So.
And with all this being said, they're still in a position where they do have picks and they do have pieces. They could potentially get whoever the next free agent is. They seem like a team, especially, Pat Riley doing his thing. You kind of just figure they're always in that discussion to land a big prospect, land a big free agent. So we don't know. We don't know what next season holds. As far as this year goes, I think they're in that like 4 to 7 seed range. I could see them winning, 44, 45 games this year, which again, we don't know where that'll leave you in the East. That could be anywhere from the 9th seed to the 7th or to like the 5th seed. So,
yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. So I just looked up like what their picks are for like the next couple of years. So for 2023, they don't have any picks in the first or the second round. For 2024, they have 1 first round pick and 1 second round pick. For 2025, they have 1 first round pick and no second round. And then same goes for 2026. So like
that's
they don't have a ton of assets to like at least picks to send out without proposing Lowry, Oladipo, Butler, or Bam.
Yeah.
So like if I feel is like if they don't make a serious push this year with like the squad they currently have, they're gonna have to do a reset.
If they don't make a serious push with the squad they have this year, we could be talking Kyle Lowry to the Lakers around trade deadline.
Jimmy Butler to the Lakers.
There's no way.
I think that pretty much wraps up Miami. Like there's nothing more to say. They didn't do much, you know.
There's a lot more to say, but yeah. not a lot of good things to say, I guess. Not saying that there's a ton of poor things. It's just so run of the mill. Like it's such an average off season. I do want to give a couple of Big East shout outs. Obviously, so 2 of maybe the top 50 most like Big East legends on this Miami Heat team, Kyle Lowry,
Jimmy Butler.
Lowry obviously playing for Villanova in college and Butler for Marquette. It's a lot of collegiate wins between those 2 guys. I'll say that. There's also one of the actually better stories of this Miami Heat team, Yurtsevin from Georgetown. Power forward, center, 6'11", Eastern European guy. Can shoot the ball well, screens and rolls pretty well. He actually developed into a nice piece in this rotation. I think he was getting right around like 20 minutes a game last year or something like that. So like not bad by any means for a guy that wasn't drafted. Then obviously you go down to Max Strus, I believe our 3rd DePaul shout out, maybe 4th even. It just pains me. It really does. 6'5" shooting guard, 10.5 points a game last year, 3 boards, shot 41% from 3. Became actually a solid defender too. Like he's pretty fearless when it comes to matchups. He'd get burned just as any other defender in the league gets burned. But he's, like I said, fearless when it comes to matchups. And as a wing in the East, you have to be fearless. Dude can hit. I mean, his range is just ridiculous. And he hit some big time shots for Miami last year. So I think he'll be in the starting lineup. He was starting quite a bit at the small forward position at the end of last year after coming off the bench in the beginning of the year. So he'll probably be the solidified starter at the small forward. And then the last, I believe the 5th out of 5 Big East shout outs on this Miami Heat team is Jamal Cain. Played 4 years at Marquette. He's a 6'7" small forward. He actually used his 5th year of eligibility because of all the COVID stuff. He used his 5th year of eligibility, transferred to Oakland, and averaged 20 a game for Oakland, and now is on this roster. Not a great 3-point shooter, but good driver. He's bouncy, runs the floor well. He can, backdoor cut, lob threat. Just a nice piece. Who knows, in this Heat culture, it's the next guy up mentality. So we just sat here, talked for 5 minutes about how someone's got to step up that we've never heard of on this team. And he very well could be that guy as a wing,
Yeah, very well could be. That'll be an interesting year for them. That's for sure. I definitely feel like it's a make or break year. So
big time. And then moving on to the team that selected the first overall pick this year, They were just throwing us for a loop the entire time. It was all a ruse. We all thought it was going to be Jabari Smith out of Auburn at that number 1 spot. Chet was pretty much locked in at the two spot for OKC. And Orlando decided to say, we've been leading you on this whole time. Let's switch it up here. And they draft Paolo Banchero from the University of Duke, number 1 overall, which from all the summer league tape seemed to be the right pick because holy crap, is he good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty seamless transition for him from college to the NBA. That's for sure.
Yeah. Odds are he wins Rookie of the Year. To me, it's either him or Ivy with Chet going down and Jabari looking timid. It's Ivy or Ben Carroll for me. So
yeah, I don't disagree with you there. So I think obviously like that was the biggest acquisition for Orlando in this offseason. So seamless transition for him, college into the NBA, 6'10", 250, big dude, creates his own shot, has great court vision given his size. I mean, he put up 17 a game at Duke last year. Like he had a very, very good year. I think his game and like how he goes about himself will definitely reflect into the NBA.
Yeah.
And like obviously he's going to be the cornerstone for this franchise for at least like the next few years to come. And I just looked it up. They have upwards of like 14 to 17 first and second round picks for the next 5 years on top of that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was like that steep before like we hopped on here, but they're
geared up.
Oh my God. And they're so young too.
Dude,
Jalen Cole Anthony, like Mo Bamba's still young. Wendell Carter Jr. is still young.
No.
Like,
do not include Mo Bamba into this. He's out. He's down.
He was the starter last year, big dog.
And he's not going to be starting this year. I'll tell you that.
He's not.
No, and we'll touch on Franz Wagner after this because that mother can play. They have their 2 key pieces. Though that's their core right there, Banchero and Wagner. Both of those guys, that's what they're going to build around. Whatever star that they decide to bring into Orlando, it's going to be a piece that's surrounding those 2 guys. That's what they're building their roster on. They finally have figured out 2 pieces.
Yep. And like my biggest note on this entire like Orlando team is they need a veteran star to come in and like help lead these young guys into like the next step for like
they need a point guard. They need a point guard desperately.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be curious. I'll be curious to see like what they do because like Jalen Suggs obviously didn't play a ton last year. He missed half the season. Still put up almost 12 points a game. Only played in 48 games. Didn't shoot the ball well from 3. I'll say that. It was bad.
Yikes.
21%. Yeah, 21%. That ain't it.
Not going to do it. But a stout defender. A really good defender.
Yeah, over a steal a game, almost a block, like 6'4" point guard. Exactly what you're like looking for out of like a young guy.
Yeah.
Cole Anthony put up 16 a game. He's shown decent like progression throughout like his like early career so far. I don't think he'll be like a long-term piece to their team.
And if he is a long-term piece, he will be a off the bench kind of player. He's not going to be a starting point guard on a playoff team. I love him. His dad's
unless you have like unless you have like unreal talent, you cannot be like a legitimate starting point guard in this league at 6'2" or under. I feel at this day and age, like you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the size. For me, it's the inability to lead an offense, to set up an offense, and to shoot the ball at a high clip.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
That's where the fall off is. That's why I don't think you can name 10 point guards in the East that are better than Cole Anthony. And you could probably name 10 point guards in the West that are better than Cole Anthony. So I don't
doubt there are better. I mean, right. I get that.
So it is what it is.
For what they have now, right. For what they have now, it's fine. But like, in order for them to like take that next step into being like a legitimate like contender in the playoffs, they need a 2 or a 3 to like help lead them to the promised land, if you will.
Hear me out. You said potentially LaMelo Ball could leave Charlotte.
I feel like LaMelo Ball's been in the spotlight since he was 14. There's no way he's going from one small market to another.
I don't know. It's tough to say because Orlando has a ton to offer to Charlotte.
They do, if MJ takes picks seriously, but
who knows? I've never been inside his brain, so I wouldn't know.
You haven't?
No, surprisingly enough. Then I know you and I both have some stuff on the amazing Wendell Carter Jr.
Yeah, his best season yet this year, which is wild. 15 points a game, almost 3 assists, pushing the closer to 11 boards a game.
Yeah, I have him at 10.5, but
I mean, I'm generous. What can I say? I'm generous.
Drafted the Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 ribbons in. I'm feeling generous, so like, it is what it is. Do you think he needs to like step up his like blocks numbers a little bit, given that he's a center that doesn't really expand outside of 15 feet? But I mean, throughout like the first 4 or 5 years of his career, he's really just statistically like gone up little after little after little after little. So like that's all you can really ask for out of like a younger guy.
Yep.
This Wendell Carter Jr. for Nikola Vucevic trade for the Bulls is just a fat L to Chicago, because not only is Carter Jr. getting better and is younger than Vucevic, they also then had the ability to draft Franz Wagner, who, as you alluded to, he's going to be a stud in this league for a long time. Long time.
God, is he good?
I personally, I can't even lie. I'm not familiar with his game. I didn't catch a lot of Orlando games last year, but from like everybody that I listened to, being Zach Lowe and like Wendy, like everybody is super high on this dude's efficiency and like what he brings to just the game in general.
Yeah, I could expand on his game a bit more if you'd like me to.
Go for it.
He is a sizable power forward. I believe he stands at 6'10". University of Michigan. Moves really, really well for a power forward in the NBA. Really nice stroke. Has a shot that's good enough where defenders have to respect it. So if he does a pump fake around the perimeter, he can almost every time get his guy to bite. And he can drive. He can dish. He's, like I said, sizable. I mean, he has that big burly build. He does not get bullied. The power forward, a guy like Wagner, that's such a rarity in the NBA. It always seems like in a wing heavy NBA, power forwards that kind of are hybrids are, they're hard to come by. We can reference a player like Aaron Gordon, who used to play for Orlando. He's kind of that makeup of a player,
Out the bounds.
Yeah. A lot of bounds. But it's a coveted player, and it's really tough to find a guy like that. And if you can find one like that, you've kind of hit the jackpot. I mean, it's just, there's not a lot of teams with really good power forwards. If he was in the early 2000s, it'd be a different discussion. But in today's day and age, a guard and wing heavy NBA, a guy like Wagner is just it's a diamond in the rough, and he shoots at a high clip, shares the ball, he's similar to Giddey on OKC. Like, he just offensively, everything is so smooth. It's already there. The intangibles are there. Like I said, for a power forward, it's just such a rarity to get a guy this talented. But yeah, super solid player. Like I said, they've figured out two pieces, and that's the hardest thing to do in the NBA is find two guys to build around. So Orlando, well, maybe they're not going to win a ton of games this year. They certainly are geared to be a competitive team in the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that's all I have on Orlando.
I don't have anything else, so
I think we can safely move on to Washington and what maybe is the most confusing franchise that we'll probably end up covering. They signed Bradley Beal to a lifetime contract. One of the few players in recent years who has been able to do that. I believe Giannis is going to be eligible. I believe LeBron's done it. D Wade's done it. Dirk did it. They signed him to a 5-year, $251 million contract with a no trade clause. I believe he does have a player option on the 5th year. They lock him in. They lock in a ton of money into the caps. They're not going to have a ton of money to play around with. It just seems like a foot shooting kind of signing. Like everyone scratched their head at it. No one understands it. But at the same time, it's cool to see a franchise draft the guy, love the guy. The guy is a top 20 player in the NBA and they pay him that money and don't trade him away from that, for that potential star that they can bring in. It's cool to see a franchise invest in their guy, but again, kind of there's other ways to go about it. You don't want to sign a guy to that big of a contract, take away the possibility for, contract space to bring in other guys. So it is what it is. It's really hindering for a franchise.
I get it. And like, I agree that it is hindering for the franchise, but like as a player and like, as like an athlete, like at some point, like, don't you want to like actually compete to win?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that was the biggest like knock towards like Melo for like the longest time is all he was worried about was securing his bag and nothing past that.
Mm-hmm.
So I respect what I respect what Beal did. He went in, he got his money, he got paid again and again. But at some point, like, you're playing this game because you love it and you're competitive and you want to win. So like, I don't understand, like, unless like the deals just like weren't good enough for him to go to like Miami or LA, for example. Like, I just don't understand like why you would want to stay in Washington when Bradley Beal could pick a destination that he wants to go to on a competitive team, and that team would make the world move to get him there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's weird because you think about it in this way. There's part of you that's like in a loyalty-less NBA, we're making bad remarks about a guy who showed like the utmost loyalty to a franchise. Like, everyone complains about, everyone moves around. Every star doesn't care about the team that they're playing for. And we sit here and we talk shit about a guy who just confirmed, that he wants to play for this team.
No, I get that.
It's the same thing we love Damian Lillard for. But in this instance, I think it's a reaction that's natural when we've seen a guy like Damian Lillard basically put his team and his franchise on his back and consistently has overachieved for a poorly assembled roster and has consistently not won a ton of playoff games. And
he made a lot of conference finals though.
Yeah, but that was the only 2 playoff series that he's won in his entire career. Actually, sorry, 2 of 3 playoff series that he's won.
It's more to say than what Bradley Beal has done in Washington.
but that's the point I'm making is we've watched this all happen, or we've watched this all happen with Damian Lillard in Portland, and it just kind of feels like this is happening in Washington to Bradley Beal. So as NBA fans, we're reacting in a sense that is like, don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to yourself.
Yeah, go win a ring. Go get your chip.
Yeah, because they're, as fans, you and I are fans of the NBA. We're fans of the players, though. We want to see the players achieve and get their bag. All the other stuff that goes with it, so be it. But first and foremost, we're player first guys. So it's tough to see. I know, like I said, Bradley Beal is getting his bag. He's getting a ton of money. He's showing loyalty, which is great. People in that area they love him. He's going to be an all-time great for Washington. It's just unfortunate. It's like, I want to see him in the biggest stages because he is that good of a player. I want to see him in the Eastern Conference Finals hitting big buckets.
I want to see him go on a playoff run where he's putting up 32, 5-5. You know what I mean? Like he's got the ability to lead a team to like a serious run. He just needs support around him in order to do so. And Washington was like paying him what they did. They're never going to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but this roster sucks. I mean, it's just not good. Roy Hachimura from Gonzaga, not great. Not a great wing guy. He's probably going to be gone. Kuzma might be the second best player on this team. Porzingis.
Porzingis hasn't been good since he was in New York.
Who is he as a player in the NBA? You know,
he hasn't done anything.
Exactly. And so it's just tough to sit here and be optimistic about this Washington team after Bradley Beal signs his contract and after you look at this roster on paper. It's tough. It's really tough. And I like individual guys on this team. You know, I'm a huge Will Barton fan. I love Monte Morris. It's tough, man. They're going to be the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, they're not good. They're going to probably be the worst team in the East.
Yeah. And let's get the record straight. Kristaps Porzingis never dunked on me. I don't want to hear anything about it. If you find these pics on Facebook of me getting dunked on by Kristaps Porzingis, it's not true.
Yeah, he dunked on Giannis and blew an ACL in the same play. So
I was referring to the picture my dad took of me.
I know.
Outside the garden. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton on Washington. They drafted Johnny Davis in the lottery from Wisconsin. Nice small forward. His Big Ten Player of the Year last year. We'll see what he does. I mean, he could potentially start at the 3 over Roy Hachimura, and I don't think anyone would bat an eye. So, yeah, they bring in
thinks that they can win, or if any team thinks that they're going to win less than 40 games, they should put up under 20, and then they should go for Victor at this point.
Yeah,
because there's no purpose in trying to be competitive in either conference at this point
because the top 8 are so good that there's no point. Like you're only gonna hurt yourself. It's like the Bears. You're only gonna hurt yourself if you win more games. You know what I mean? Like
right. Yeah. So, and if a team like Washington or Charlotte or Detroit even, or whatever the bottom of the barrel ends up being in the East, the bottom 4, bottom 5, I mean, they should all be tanking. There's going to be a good draft, and I'll touch on this in a later episode. I don't think Victor Wembanyama is the best talent in this draft. I think I still got my guy Scoot Henderson at number 1. So, yeah, we can get, like I said, we'll get into that on a separate podcast because that'll open a can of worms. I know that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a 4-hour episode of Cole's breakdown of the NCAA in Seton Hall. So
Yeah, I will not be on tonight's episode. There's no way there's gonna be room for that. So
No room for that.
That about does it for the Southeastern Division. Get into some trivia here, and then I think we can wrap this thing up. Yes, sir. All right. You're only competing against yourself and your own brain here, so lock it in. First question. I'm going to name you this superstar, well, one superstar. I'm going to name you the team he was drafted for, and then in order, all the teams he played for, including the team he retired on. Okay? He was drafted by the Utah Jazz, played for the New Jersey Nets, then the Brooklyn Nets, and went to Dallas after that, and then retired with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Can I get an era?
2000s.
Darren Williams.
Yes, sir. Nice. Hey.
All right.
Okay.
One for one.
One for one. Question number 2. Since the ABA and the NBA merged, there's only been one non-guard to ever lead the league in assists. Who was that non-guard? And this is from 1970 on, I believe, or 1972 on.
That's tough. The only, I guess he still technically is a guard.
Who would you have in mind?
James Harden,
Yeah, he's technically a guard,
technically a guard.
but he has led the league. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's where my brain went.
Yeah.
So he's a 3, 4, or 5.
Yep.
It might be outlandish, but like my guess is Joakim Noah.
Whoa, no.
He had like one good year where he was like top, could be wrong, but like top like 15 in assists.
He very well could have been, and it could have been that lockout year, because I know that year and the following they were like the 2 and the 1 seed. So
yeah, that one I got nothing on.
it's gonna seem a bit obvious when I say it, but I understand why you didn't think of it. LeBron James in the 2020 season.
That's really lame.
Yep, he led the league with 10.3 assists a game that year.
I should have known that.
Yeah. Then third and final trivia question. There's an active player who has led the league in steals 6 different times in his career. And fun fact, no other player in league history has led the league more times in steals than this player. Who is it?
Is it Jimmy Butler?
No.
The same position?
No.
Is it a guard?
How many hints do you want me to give you here?
I mean, we have to narrow it down somehow.
Yes, it's a guard.
It's John Wall.
No. You gotta think about it. Who's been in the league long enough? Who's been considered a great defender, non-ball defender?
Is it CP3?
Yes, sir. Nice. 2 for 3. Not bad.
Take that.
I think overall, out of the first 3 basketball episodes, actually you could include the 4th or the football episode in there. I want to say you're batting above 500.
I would say that's probably fair.
Like I think you got one of the 2 in the first episode. I think you got 2 of the 2 in the second episode, and I think you got 1 of the 2 in the third episode.
Sounds about right.
So, way to go.
I got the Rip Hamilton one.
Yes.
Episode 1 for sure.
Yes.
And then I think I split week 2 when KZ was on.
Yeah. So
I got the fucking Bears trivia last week.
yeah. I was a bit nervous that you weren't going to get the first one. I was like, I feel like you should get Darren Williams just because he is U of I, but also like,
fuck you, though.
But all righty. That right there was your Southeastern Division breakdown. Next week, we will get into the West, and hopefully KZ will be on next week as well.
Shouldn't be any plans on Wednesday, so.
There you go. Shoot for next Wednesday. As always, Schmeeb here, my main man Zerch. Thanks for coming in, helping me out.